There's an easy answer to why I would never be a Jew, a Christian, or a Muslim. Anything Abrahamic. Mormons, you're off the charts. No way there. Okay. My name is Dan Paulson. Welcome to the video. Because God's first chosen is a pervert. You know what? When I was a kid, I went to Sunday school. We were spoon-fed all of the stories, little bits and pieces. Noah and the ark. Remember how nice the pictures of them smiling and getting on and all the animals, how happy it was. And then afterwards, the sun shining and all that. You know, it's this wonderful little story you hear in Sunday school. They don't tell you that, they stop short of telling you that on the other side of this flood and the recreation of earth, that Noah created a vineyard, made some wine, got drunk, and was naked and passed out in his tent, and had to have and his sons came and covered him up. Why don't they put that part of the story in? That's right there in the Bible. That's what happens next. I remember hearing about the destruction of the evil city, Sodom. Yeah, that's Sodom right there. But you know what I never heard when I was sitting there in Sunday school is that the men of the city came and wanted to know the two men that came to help, the two angels, and that Lot said, "No, don't do that. I have two virgin daughters. I will give those to you instead. Please take them." How come my Sunday school teacher didn't tell me that part? Sadly, that's just two examples. There's going to be a lot in here. Yeah, there's some funny things that as a kid I had questions about it, but you just have certain kind of brain types that have this inquisitive nature about them. People tell you a story about the fig, and you've got it playing out in your head. It's like you're really there. You're listening to the story, and Jesus kills the fig tree because it wasn't producing. And you're the one person that sits there in your mind and goes, why didn't he just have it become full of figs? You're seeing problems with the story that other people are just going, oh, that's wonderful. So you got a different kind of brain. I have that kind of a brain that questions those things. All right, so let's go talk about something that should be a significant issue to anybody, honestly. If you read through it and look at it, just be honest. Treat this literally and see what happens. I'm going to start at chapter 12 here, but let me just briefly go over what's happened. For chapter 1 through 11, what we have is, what do we have? We have, hang on a second here. We've got the two creation stories, and then we've got the punishment, the sin, the Cain, the Abel, the separation, the people go on, time goes on, playing harp, making tent, whatever, the music. At that point in time, there's a lineage that occurs. God actually leaves the scene at Cain, right? God is no longer there. God does not return. God is not a part of the picture. God creates and leaves. It's like planting a garden and just leaving it. Watch and see. Read the book. Read it. Where's God? God is not there at all, ever, until what happens in chapter 6. God's sons came down and chose for themselves the fair daughters of men and impregnated them and created giants. So somehow we've got this weird thing going on. Yeah, people try to explain that to me. Chapter 1 through 11, Genesis is not a full-on monotheism yet. It still references multiple gods at times. Let us go down in our image. God's sons, those are Babylonian artifacts. Okay, so that's what happens, and then what happens is the planet goes completely bad. The giants are there, all that. God comes and says, "Oh my God, I have to destroy it all. Everything's gone bad." Well, God just returned at that point. Calls Noah. The flood happens. All of it gets destroyed. Covenant, Babylon, Tower of Babel, leave it behind. Now what happens is the Abrahamic religion starts. God comes back and says, "Abram, you are going to be the one." This is where the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob begins, right here in chapter 12. Everybody with me? Okay, again, chapter 12 is where the religion actually begins. And if we go back up chapter 11 up here, it was verse 7. Let us go down, and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. That's the last reference in Genesis to God in any plural manner, where it still looks like a polytheism. When we get to chapter 12, that's gone. This is the second part of Genesis. All right, so what happens is that it's a start over. God tells Abram and Sarai he's going to put them in a land. He does. He puts them in a land of Canaan, and there's a famine. He gets things set up. I'm not going to read this whole thing. You can go read it if you want to. It is fairly short. But he takes all of them and, into the land of Canaan. There it is right there. And Abram passed through the land of Shechem into the plains of Moreh, and the Canaanite was then in the land. Okay, if you're reading this without interpreting anything, then you're just taking this as that it happened. And so unto your seed I'll give you this land. And there he built an altar to the Lord who appeared to him. So every time we've got a starting like this, we're going to see, unto your seed I will give the land. We're going to see that when it comes to Abraham as well. As many as sand on the beach or stars in the sky, things like that, that we're going to give this place to you and your offspring. Okay, so that's a component part to look for, reoccurring. And okay, so what happens though is that the Lord leaves at this point. He's gone. We have another issue where, in the same way where Cain left the presence of the Lord, we're going to have God leave the presence of, he's gone. God is not here with Abram and Sarai. All right, so what happens is that Abram went to the south. They went to Egypt to go there because a famine was bad. And it came to pass when he was going down got close to Egypt, he said to his wife, Sarai, his wife, I know you're a fair woman to look upon. You're a hot mama. Therefore, it shall come to pass when the Egyptians see me, they're going to say, whoa, this is his wife. Let's kill him. And they will save you. They'll keep you alive. They'll take you and kill me. So I pray, tell them that you're my sister. And then it'll be okay for my sake, and my soul shall live because of you. And it came to pass that when Abram did come to Egypt, the Egyptians beheld the woman, that she was very fair. And the princes also of Pharaoh saw her and commended her before Pharaoh, that the woman was taken into Pharaoh's house. Hey, Pharaoh, hot woman out here, and she's just a sister. Oh, cool. Bring her in. Yeah, let's go. And he was so happy with Abram. What does he do? He gives him sheep, oxen, he-asses, men servants, maid servants, she-asses, and camels for giving up his sister who was his wife because he was scared that they might kill him. What? I don't do that, and I'm just a little boy. And the Lord plagued Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Abram's wife. So the Lord still isn't there. What's he do? He sends plagues. How long do plagues take? I'm going to teach you a lesson 3 years later or something. Damn it. This is the third year we're having another plague. Yeah, treat it literally. It makes no damn sense. And Pharaoh called Abram and said, what's this you've done to me? So now what happens? Pharaoh, he said, why did you say she was your sister so that I took her for my wife? Now you take your wife, take her and go your way, and everything that I gave you, and get out of here. And Pharaoh commanded his men concerning him, and they sent him away and his wife and all that he had. Okay, so did you see what just happened right there in a nutshell? I'm calling you, I'm putting you here in a land of famine. This land is all yours. See you, I'm out of here. By the way, I left it. There's no food. It's a famine. You're going to have to leave, go to Egypt. I'm scared. I'm going to give up my wife. He gets what? He also obviously has sloppy seconds when he goes as well. What the hell kind of a story is that? What the hell kind of a man is that? Who looks up to that and worships that? Watch this. When time goes by, God returns in the same way that God disappeared from Cain and Abel and returns when it was time to call Noah. We're going to see God disappear here. There's a little communications, angels, messages, things like that, but God's presence is not there at all until God converts Abram into Abraham. That's when God returns. In the same way that God returned to Noah when it's time to destroy the world, we're going to have God return to Abram, convert him to Abraham, and go destroy the evil city. All right, this one's down in 17, and I wish you understood the numbers like I do. That's so meaningful. All right, what do we have? The Lord appeared to Abram. Unto him, I am the Almighty God. Walk before me and be perfect. So here he is. He's returning now. He's been gone that whole time. He's while Abram and Sarai were off getting their... What happened there? Sound like a trade of sex for stuff, but honestly, it told us that he was scared. So, the whole thing is pretty weird. Okay, so he's going to have a covenant. There we go. And neither shall your name anymore be called Abram, but your name shall be Abraham, for the father of many nations have I made you. Right there, Abraham. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Bingo. Ding, 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 ding. That's where it starts. All right, what happens as time goes by here? All right, I'm going to skip through here. We just had the Sodom and Gomorrah happen, and this is where the daughters of Lot got him drunk in the cave, and one night one slept with him and got pregnant, and the next night the other one was impregnated by him. And we've got, and Abraham journeyed from thence toward the south country and dwelt between Kadesh and Shur, and was living in Gerar. And Abram said about his wife Sarah, she's my sister. And Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent and took Sarah. Okay, I'm not going to go through it in high detail. I want to just skip through these. Same guy. Abram gives his wife Sarai to Pharaoh. Now he's like doing, what does he do? He just does this to a king. Sarah, she's my sister. All right, I do want to point out another similarity here is that Abimelech had not come near her, so it didn't go the same way. The Lord interfered with it instead, and he's talking to the Lord and said he not unto me, she's my sister? He said, didn't he say she's my sister? And she, even herself, said he's my brother. They told me that it's not my fault, God. They told me, in the integrity of my heart and innocency of my hands have I done this. What does that tell us right there? That not only was Pharaoh honest and the good guy who got screwed by Sarai and Abram, they're the ones that lied. He was like, oh, why did you do this? He wasn't going to kill him. Same thing happened here. Lord, I didn't know. They told me that it was his sister. They both told me that. You know what? Who's the good guys here? Analyzing these stories is important. Again, you're going to have a certain brain type. How would you know it? You're the kind of person that you hear Aesop's fables, the tortoise and the hare, and in the end, they get done and tell you the moral of the story is slow and steady wins the race. And you hear that, and instantly, a microsecond later, what pops into your head is, why isn't it when you're almost finished, don't quit? Or something like that. When you've almost won, don't stop. You're always going to be looking for alternatives. You read this and it's like, you know what? Pharaoh and the king that did that, they're the good guys. The bad guys. The people that are supposed to be the good guys? It's inside out. All right, we're going to jump way ahead. Abraham and Sarah are gone. We now have Isaac and Rebekah. So this is the second one coming along. Jacob, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, what we have right here. But what we have in 26, there's a famine in the land. So we got the same thing going on. He's got to leave where he goes to, and he's told to sojourn in this land. And I'll just jump ahead down here. And Isaac dwelt in Gerar. And the men of the place asked him of his wife, and he said, oh, she's my sister. For he feared to say, she's my wife. Lest, said he, the men of the place would kill me for Rebekah, because she was fair to look upon. Okay, I don't need to keep going, do I? Abram, he gives his wife away. As Abraham, he gives his wife away. And their son Isaac here, they're doing the same thing. He's ready to give his wife away. Fear, saying she's my sister instead. This is the foundation of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam right here. The very core foundation. From here, the rest of it emerges. It changes shapes along the way, but this is the foundation. I would never worship something like this, just on that alone. There's more to the story than what I'm saying, but in this case, I'm not going to get into the interpretation. I'm going to just treat it like I'm a Christian and say that it's literal, and then ask myself, why would I think this is good? These people are perverts, weak, spineless men. Highfalutin Christian values as they operate from a place of mental elevation, looking down upon people. Is this the benchmark? I'm better than that. Most people are. Most Christians are. Why don't you read the Bible? See what's in there. All right, see you in the next video.